Hey, welcome, and thank you for taking some time out of your day, your busy day, to join us on today's webinar. Today, we're going to talk about taking control of your storage hardware refresh cycle. My name is Jim Burris. I'm a corporate sales coach at Service Express. My role in the company is I travel around to our offices from coast to coast, and I work with our account executives, and we go out and meet with current clients and new potential clients and help them find the best solutions for their hardware maintenance options. Joining me on today's call is my co-presenter, Dale Harding. Dale, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Jim. My name is Dale Harding. I am a senior support specialist with Service Express. I work with our engineers in the field as well as customers directly to help them resolve technical issues on a variety of hardware platforms, storage being one of them. I've been a field service engineer. I also do technical training for our field service, and I also do some Unix and Linux software support as well. I've been doing this for about 23 years now, so I've seen a few things, and hopefully we can help you, our listeners, understand what third-party maintenance is and what it can bring to the table for you.
Awesome. So it sounds like you've been on a few service calls then.
One or two.
Thanks, Dale. So Service Express, we specialize in post-warranty break-fix hardware maintenance on anything from mainframes down to x86 servers, most of your major storage devices, and most of the networking options that are out there as well. So today our conversation is going to cover, we're going to talk about the role that the OEM plays in your data center decision-making process. We're also going to talk about what it means when you get those end of service life letters in the mail, the impact that they have on your decision-making process. We're also going to give you some options and give you some questions that you should think about when you're making the decisions about how you can really take control of your refresh cycle. So I'm sure most of you have been there. You come in Monday morning or someday during the week and you either get the letter in the mail or you get the email and the OEM says, hey, it's time for you to buy new storage equipment. Well, breaking news, refresh cycles can and should be controlled by you. Dale, let's talk about, some questions they should ask themselves and their teams and things they should be aware of when it comes to, new features, maintenance costs, reliability, why the OEMs pressure them to buy new, and what does it mean when they say there's no more OEM support?
Absolutely. So the purpose of this conversation is really to help you, our listeners, understand that you have options besides allowing the OEM to dictate when and how you need to refresh your storage environment. Oftentimes, there are things that require a refresh. You need a feature that is only available from an upgrade. However, if you have a proven product, it's been in your environment, it's meeting your needs performance-wise and capacity-wise, then some of the other things that the OEM will do to try to control that cycle for you is, number one, they'll start increasing your maintenance cost as you get further out from your current environment being the product that their sales reps are being told they need to push, that it is their latest or greatest flagship piece of equipment. They're going to start trying to make it look more and more attractive, just by creating a pain point of increasing your maintenance cost after the initial warranty expiration. They will also bring up topics like, this piece of equipment it's getting rather old. You're going to have to start worrying about more frequent interruptions in service due to parts breaking. It won't be as reliable. It won't be able to keep up with the throughput. They'll also come up with creative plans, if you will, for making the purchase of a new piece of equipment look really, really attractive. They oftentimes don't consider or don't even bring into the conversation some of the hidden costs of refreshing your storage environment.
What are some of those hidden costs, Dale?
So some of the hidden costs for migrating from one piece of storage equipment to another are, number one, you need to plan for it, right? There is man hours spent just preparing for the migration from what you have to what you're going to. Another hidden cost is the additional man hours for actually doing the migration. Certain things may require that they're done during off hours, weekends, holidays, whatever. So you're putting additional time requirements on your storage admins, your server teams, potentially even networking and SAN administration folks, right? They're going to have to somehow come up with the cycles to make sure that what they're going to do is going to work and then actually accomplish the work.
Mm-hmm.
The cost for data migration can easily double or exceed by 200% the cost of purchasing the equipment. So it should be part of your conversation if you're looking at it just because they're saying, hey, we can support your existing storage for X dollars, but if you buy new, it's only going to be Y. Make sure that you're looking at it from a whole perspective and include those hidden costs. What does it truly look like? What is it really going to cost to wheel this piece of equipment in and get my ones and zeros from where they are to the new piece of equipment? And then finally, the last thing that they're going to bring up is, well, after this date, we're no longer going to support your piece of equipment. It is end of service life. Now, end of service life for the OEM simply means that they are not going to re-sign any existing maintenance agreements that have that piece of equipment. They are no longer going to be offering firmware, code updates, anything like that. And lastly, it is really another pressure point that the OEM uses to get customers off of that piece of equipment and onto something new. It is in no way a magical algorithm or some hidden piece of information stating that the piece of equipment you currently have is no longer reliable. End of service life does not mean you have to refresh. You have to do some really intentional question asking and making sure that you understand your storage environment. You've been running on the piece of equipment for 5, potentially 7 years. It's been reliable. It's proven to work in your environment. So the decision to go to something new should not be taken lightly. By looking at your options, third-party maintenance being one of them, you are saying, I want to take control of where my OPEX budget is being spent. Rather than have the OEM dictate to me that I have to outlay these dollars for new storage just so that they'll continue to provide support, is not necessarily where you need the money the most. You may have other projects that you would have to put on hold or potentially downsize the scale of other projects to help cover the cost of purchasing new equipment. By understanding what you need, determining what you have, and whether or not it meets those needs, you're able to better control where you're spending those dollars. As far as what it means to extend that beyond end of service life for the OEM, you have to make sure that you have access to reliable, consistent support. A reputable third-party maintainer is going to be able to give you reliable and consistent support. Again, you want to make sure that your storage is capable of meeting your operational needs. And lastly, by being able to control your refresh strategy, you are able to determine when and how you're going to perform that migration with those hidden costs that we talked about.
Awesome, thanks, Dale. So let's walk through, a typical equipment life cycle. This is according to the OEM. So that, year 1 through 3, what does that look like?
So the OEM maintenance life cycle looks like this. The release date is the date that the piece of equipment has gone through all of the product testing and development, and it's made available for general sale to their customers. Sometime on or after that initial release date, the customer purchases said equipment. And then after that purchase date, which may, in some instances, actually occur prior to the customer even receiving the equipment. And I'll elaborate on that in a minute. About 3 years, typically for an enterprise storage environment, you have the end of your initial OEM warranty. Now, between year 3 and end of life, which on average is between 7 to 10 years, you have what's considered post-warranty coverage. This means that the OEM will continue to offer you, at ever-increasing cost, support for that piece of equipment. And then finally, the end of service life date is announced by the OEM. Again, this isn't a magical date where all of your storage infrastructure just melts down and it's no longer usable. It is simply a date that has been selected, partly due to the OEM's business model. They're no longer going to sign those post-warranty maintenance agreements. They're going to continue to increase pressure, increase the cost up, or flat out not allow that piece of equipment to be maintained by them. And it's purely in an effort to, again, take those resources they've been using to maintain the status quo and divert them to the next big thing.
So end of service life, that's for the OEM. That doesn't mean that's the last day you can get your equipment serviced if you've actually bought the stuff, right?
It will potentially mean, and typically does mean, that the OEM will not provide service.
Gotcha.
However, knowing what your options are, which is why we're here talking today, like third-party maintenance, will allow you to mitigate that risk. It allows you to find another avenue to maintain your proven and mature storage environment in a way that is flexible, oftentimes more responsive, and provides you a significant cost savings. Which brings us to putting yourself in the driver's seat with third-party maintenance. So, as I said, cost savings is absolutely something that people are looking for. Across the board, our customers are telling us we're being asked to reduce cost wherever we can. One of the ways that you can do that without sacrificing or putting your business at risk is by looking at a third-party maintainer who has a solid reputation, like Service Express. Because we don't have the huge overhead that OEMs do, we don't have those large research and development wings, we are able to offer a service-centric, flexible, more responsive approach to maintaining your equipment that will inherently lead to cost savings for the customer. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't ask questions. And one of those questions that we often get is, well, what about parts? The OEM says that they won't support my storage array anymore. Are you going to be able to even get parts for it? And the answer is yes. A reputable maintainer is going to be very transparent in their service capabilities. They're not going to intentionally sign any piece of equipment that they can't get parts for, because invariably they're going to need parts. Third-party maintainers like Service Express have developed a network of vendors, as well as stockpiling in-house parts for the pieces of equipment that they maintain. And lastly, quality of support. So quality of support comes down to a couple of things. Number one, do they have the smarts to fix what's broken? Third-party maintainers should have experienced field service personnel. They should also believe in continuing education for those service personnel so that they maintain the skill sets they need to properly maintain and repair your storage equipment.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. And thanks, everyone, for joining the call today. If you have any questions about your storage environment and how third-party maintenance could be a good option for you in extending the life of that and giving you control back of your environment, you'll be receiving an email with a recording of this after the call. You can respond to that email, and we'll have one of your local account executives in your area reach out to answer any questions that you have. Thanks again.